Hello, my dear students. Today we're going to discuss another topic in grammar, namely adjectives. By the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to differentiate between comparative and superlative adjectives. Adjectives are words which describe a noun or a pronoun. They act as modifiers. What do we mean by that? We mean that adjectives provide additional information about the words they modify. They are used to make the words they modify more definite. So adjectives answer questions like what kind, how many, how much, which ones. Let's look at an example about what an adjective does. The boat sank. The blue boat sank. The large boat sank. In the first sentence, the boat sank. We're not using any modifier. We're just talking about a boat. Any boat can come to your mind. We don't give here enough information to make you visualize what I am talking about. But look at the next example. The blue boat sank. Here I give you more information about the boat. The large boat sank. Again, large here give you information about the size of the boat. And if I say the large blue boat sank, so here I give you information about both the color and the size of the boat. So adjectives mainly give or provide more information about the words they modify. There is a large number of adjectives in English language. Let's have some examples. Big, small, tiny, rough, soft, hard, round, oval, angry, silly, kind, sweet, gentle, slow, early, late, swift, rapid, nice, ugly. If you look at these adjectives, you would find how they provide more information about size, about texture, about features of character, about time. So this is the main function of adjectives, to provide more information about the referent, the noun or pronoun they are modifying. Placement of adjectives. Where would we place the adjective in the sentence? Mainly, we have two places for the adjective, and it depends about which kind of adjective we're using. So, we are using an attributive adjective. The attributive adjective comes before the noun they modify. So, for example, we say beautiful girls, expensive computers, fast cars. Here, the adjective comes before the noun. The kind of adjectives is predicative adjectives. The predicative adjectives, from the name, we know that they are part of the predicate, which means they come after the verb. And the verb here is of a special kind. It is a linking verb, which means it doesn't express an action. It only acts as a conductor between the subject and what we say about the subject. So here, let's say it again. We have attributive adjectives. They come before the noun. And predicative adjective, they come after the verb or in the second part of the sentence, because we know that the sentence is having two parts, the subject part and the predicate part. And since the adjectives are talking and adding more information about the subject, here in this case, in the case of predicative adjectives, they come after the subject, they modify. And particularly to be specific, they come after the linking verb. Of course, the most common linking verb will be be, any form of the verb be, which takes three forms in the present tense: am, is, and are, and two forms in the past tense: was and were. So we can say girls are beautiful. Beautiful here adds information about girls, but they are predicative. They come after the linking verb. Computers are expensive. Again, expensive here is a predicative adjective. It comes in the predicate. It comes in the second part of the sentence. So we have to here put in our mind that the place of the adjective depends on the kind of the adjective. Attributive comes before the noun. Predicative comes after the linking verb. And here, note that when the adjective is attributive, it can only modify a noun. But when the adjective is predicative, it can modify either a noun or a pronoun. So I can say girls are beautiful, or they are beautiful. So here beautiful can modify girls and they, since it is a predicative adjective. But I to say beautiful they. So to recap, we can use attributive adjectives which come before the word they modify only to modify nouns. And we can use predicative adjectives which come after the linking verb to modify both nouns and pronouns. Now we talk about forms of adjectives. The first form is the positive adjective. Here, the adjective would describe a noun or a pronoun. It doesn't compare it to anyone or anything. This is the original form of the adjective. My mother is kind. I can say also a kind mother. My trip was wonderful. I can say also a wonderful trip. The other forms of adjectives involve a comparison. We have the comparative adjectives and the superlative adjectives. What is the difference between both forms? Comparative adjectives compare two persons, places, things, or ideas. Superlative adjectives, on the other hand, compare three or more persons, places, things, or ideas. This is not the only difference between comparative and superlative. Actually, they are different also in the way we form them, and we will see this in the next slides. But let's first look at some examples of comparative adjectives and the superlative adjectives. First, comparative adjectives. Mainframes are bigger than many computers. Here we are comparing two things: mainframes and many computers. And this is how we phrased it. Mainframes are bigger than many computers. Mainframes are more expensive than many computers. Look here, we have than in both examples because we're comparing two things. But in the first example, we have bigger, and in the second example, we have more expensive. What is the difference? Why did I use more with expensive and I added er with the adjective big? We'll know about this later on. Let's move to the example about superlative adjectives. Laptops are the most expensive portable computers. Here, I am comparing laptops to all the other kinds of portable computers, and I am saying that they are the most expensive. Here, I used the most before expensive. We'll come to this later on, as I told you. We will know more about the differences between comparative and superlative adjectives in the table below. As I said earlier, we use comparative adjectives to compare two things. My brother is older than me. My mother is more beautiful than me. Harry Potter is more interesting than Twilight. When should I add er to the adjective to make a comparative form like older, bigger, slower, faster, colder? And when should I use more before the adjective to make the comparative structure more expensive, more brilliant, more interesting, more amazing? When should we use the addition of er or the addition of more before the adjective itself? Here it depends about the size of the adjective. If the adjective is short, which means it consists of only one or two syllables, we add er to the adjective. If the adjective is long, which means it consists of three or more syllables, we add more before the adjective. But what is a syllable? A syllable is a group of letters which or sounds which include a vowel. So here, look with me. Hot, hot. It includes only one vowel. Hot, oh, hot. Cold, only one vowel. Large, the vowel a, large, one vowel. Big, only one vowel, the vowel eh. Small, only one vowel. Oh, so here we have one syllable. As long as we have one vowel, the word consists of only one syllable. That's when we add er to the adjective. And the examples in front of us: hot, hotter, cold, colder, large, larger, big, bigger, small, smaller, fast, faster. But with longer adjectives, we can say expensiver, brillianter, interestinger. We can't say that. When the adjective has three or more syllables, we would add more before the adjective. So we would say more expensive, more brilliant, more interesting, more amazing. But let's see together how many syllables each of these adjectives have. X, pen, sieve, three syllables. Brilliant, brilliant. Interesting, amazing. So here, these adjectives are long. We can't add er to these adjectives. We would add more. Here, to recap, with short adjectives, add er to the adjective itself. With longer adjectives, add more before the adjective. Many computers are bigger, larger than microcomputers. Many computers are more expensive than microcomputers. Now let's look at superlative adjectives. As I told you before, we use superlative adjectives when we compare more than two things. We can say Asia is the largest continent in the world. Laptops are the most expensive portable computers. Just an example. Here, how do we form the superlative adjective? If the adjective is short, we add est to the adjective itself, like hot, hottest, small, smallest, cold, coldest, large, largest, big, biggest, fast, fastest. So we would say mainframes are the biggest of all computers. With longer adjectives, which has three or more syllables, like expensive, brilliant, interesting, amazing, we would add the most before the adjective. So we would say mainframes are the most expensive of all computers. So here, to recap, with comparative adjectives, when they are short, we add er to the adjective. Hotter, colder, larger, bigger. With superlative adjectives, when they are short, we add est. Hottest, coldest, largest, biggest. With comparative adjectives, when they are long, we add more before the adjective. More amazing, more expensive. With superlative adjectives, when they are long, we add the most before the adjective. We say the most expensive, the most amazing, the most interesting. When we want to express equality, we use the structure as, adjective as. When we want to express inequality, we use the structure not as, adjective as. Note here that in this structure, as or not as, adjective as, the form of the adjective is the original one, the positive adjective. Example, microcomputers are not as big as many computers. Although here we are comparing two things, microcomputers and many computers, but we are expressing inequality. We are using the structure not as, adjective as, and the adjective itself is in the original form, big. We didn't add anything to it. We have some exceptional cases in forming comparative and superlative adjectives. These exceptional cases wouldn't have either er or est, and also wouldn't have more and the most before them. Let's have a look at these exceptions. The first exception is the adjective good. The comparative form of good is better, and the superlative would be best. The second exception is the adjective bad. The comparative form of the adjective bad would be worse, and the superlative would be worst. The third exceptional adjective would be far. The comparative form of far is farther, and the superlative is farthest. The fourth exceptional case is the adjective little. The comparative form of little will be less, and the superlative would be least. Thank you for your listening.